You don't have a money problem, but you have an inner worth ceiling. How many times have you asked yourself, am I just not financially literate? Am I just not working hard enough? Am I not old enough to do what I want to do? Am I not experienced enough? Do I not have enough qualifications? Do I need to get more, everything outside for me to finally be enough for this world? But in this video, we're going to end the era of you constantly disqualifying yourself, whether it is from that dream job that you want, that business that you want to build, and pretty much that income and life expansion that you want to have. In this video, we're going to get that breakthrough fast. So let's start. So basically, inner worth ceiling is my domain of coaching. And I broke this down into 5 parts that you would go through in order to shatter this inner worth ceiling. And these 5 parts include: number 1, undo mental knot. Number 2, release trapped emotions or energy. Number 3, you are going to stack your wins. Number 4, you're going to compound your self-concept. And number 5, you're going to release and pretty much allow. So sorry, that was receive and allow. Basically, money is quite neutral. And I was looking at influencers like Michelle Phan talking about money. And she literally said, money is a vehicle. Money is just a vehicle. It's neutral. It's not a big deal. I mean, it is in a lot of our world, but things are only a big deal when we assign excessive importance to that thing. Basically, when there's an inner worth ceiling around money, you have a mental knot on how money is supposed to land in your reality. You overthink it and you ask yourself, okay, well, if I'm only, back then when I was in my 20s, if I'm only 20 something, I can't teach people how to get a job because I don't have experience in corporate kind of thing, or I don't have MBA from Harvard to do this. I'm not qualified from Stanford to pursue this career path. I can't charge this amount because I'm just a young girl in Australia, and you know what I mean? That was what I went through with my mental knot. So you have analysis paralysis on how things should work for your life. So therefore, you turn yourself down to fit what your ecosystem tells you what is right for you. Go get a job at a bank, go get a job at a prestigious firm, go get a job, in the university education department, and just make our family look good, at least in Asian culture. So you overthink it, and then you're like, yeah, but I'm not that passionate or satisfied honestly in this job because it boxes you in a certain lifestyle that doesn't allow you to be fully expansive. So then you start to bottle up this kind of resentment and also even shame for feeling like this is not enough for me. So objectively on paper, your parents say, yeah, it's enough for you because the time that they lived in, it hasn't been this high amount of inflation, but now you're living in the age of extreme inflation. So therefore, the pay that you receive, that your parents and your grandparents say, but isn't $17 per hour good enough for you? What more do you want? $17 per hour is a lot of money. I've had that, people in my family said that to me, not my mom and dad, but from the generation before that. And they will make it feel like you are entitled and just wanting way too much out of life. So then you have this kind of embarrassment for just wanting more, and this shame that you kind of suppress and hide, which then instead of you focusing your life on stacking your wins, now you kind of go out there in the future that doesn't exist, and you start to have a separation between where you are and where you want to be. And that separation over time, when it doesn't get resolved, it becomes this line. There's a gap between you and where you want to be, and this gap is created through energetic importance. So then your self-concept doesn't compound oh, she doesn't compound the right way, your self-concept starts to diminish over time, because life is like riding a bike and we never stay still. So even though you think, yeah, I'm stable and plateauing pretty much, actually falling backwards. Because when you're riding a bike, there's no still spot. As long as you keep moving through life, you're either going forward or backwards. So then your self-concept pretty much depletes, or your self-esteem as well. And when your self-esteem goes down the drain, your heart is not expansive. You contract. You feel small, and life feels small. And because you are universe, the minute that you feel like you are an ant and the world is your giant, your problems and like the things that you want are giants, the problems, the money, the opportunity, and the people associated in that world will see you as an ant because you saw yourself as an ant. And I'm done. I'm done with people feeling this way. And I'm just so done. Like us having to always feel small in this world. So that's why in this video, we're not going to feel small anymore. So this is interesting because when we think about normalizing wealth in our life and normalizing a wealthy lifestyle, I go to this place. And it's not just one location in Sydney, but there was a phase of my life where I was obsessed with spending time in wealthy areas, like really obsessed about understanding how the lifestyle works, how the family unit is, and what people talk about, and how people live their lives. And I used to always ask myself, you know, like, how can people that have oceanfront apartments in like by the harbour view worth like at least $10 million, probably now $20-25 million mansions with a harbour view in Sydney? Why? I thought they'd be smarter. I thought they'd be more wiser. I thought that they would have more emotional intelligence. I thought that they will have something that my parents don't seem to have. And when I really boiled down, it's like, but my dad is so much more emotionally resilient, so much less complaining about the life that, you know, he doesn't complain a lot about life. Well, how come my parents don't get to have what they have? And my parents are like really disciplined and they worked hard. But how come these people who have the material things that I used to like obsessively want, a certain kind of apartment, a certain kind of lifestyle, and I hear their conversation, it's like, damn, that's so dumb. Not them, but the conversations are so dumb. Like they're not spending 24 hours working. They're just sitting down at a restaurant talking about stupid things like drama, about men, about like very basic things that children complain about, children in adults' body. And I just didn't understand at all, like, what is the difference between somebody that does everything right on the physical plane? They work hard, they put in the hours, they wake up on time. My dad wakes up 6 a.m., goes for a walk every day. He's been diligent every day. What's the difference between people that do everything correct on the physical plane and other people who just spend like 2-3 hours chatting with their girlfriends about men being single, dating, drama, family drama, divorce, and people at, Iceberg Sauna talking about, oh, I just got a divorce and my wife's demanding me $100,000 to pay for, and they actually have $100,000 to pay for that, divorce situation. It's like, it boils down to that people who have what you want, they're not significantly better than you. And I ask myself, but so what's the difference? What's the difference between somebody who's doing everything right on the physical plane and others who are not even doing anything right on the physical plane as much, but they still have what we should have? And it comes to this. Are you ready? So it's really, really interesting that when it comes to money, the nervous system, and inner worth ceiling, it boils down to this thing where if you've never experienced a life, which I've never experienced as a child, waking up by the sunrise, by the ocean waters, to go on a coastal walk regularly, to soak in that atmosphere of like, wow, this feels really abundant. And you look out to the ocean water, in eastern suburbs of Sydney, and all you see is you just start to feel that, wow, there's an abundance of water in the ocean. And you start to gain new perspective towards life and abundance. And like, look at the ocean in the morning. It's like there's vast amount of oceans and it's limitless. And money is probably like that. There's just money limitless everywhere. But when you don't see it, you just don't see it. Then I look at the homes around that area in the morning and I'm like, there's a bunch of beautiful homes. And these homes, there's like people are not living in it. It's empty and stuff like that. And it's just like, there's so many beautiful things to see. And the thing is that when you don't put yourself in the environment where you can physically sense these things, at least on a regular basis, you're not giving yourself permission to be someone that you've never been in your life. So we say things to ourselves like, once I achieve X, then I'll be Y. Once I achieve $1 million a year, then I'll be okay with my life. Once I achieve a lottery win, then I will be rich. Once I achieve that kind of job that my family's always wanted for me, then I'll feel enough for this world. When I achieve a certain amount of income and I achieve a certain kind of position where I can get a mortgage and everything's like settled in my life, then I'll be a good an adult, an actual adult that is respected and accepted in this world. But who are you seeking acceptance from? Seriously. Because if you're seeking acceptance from your default ecosystem, and let's just think of it like this, when you have a Facebook list, right? Because I used to have Facebook like many years ago and I deleted it permanently because what I realized about 6 degrees of separation is that there's a first degree where there's like people that you're close to, your closest friends, your family, your cousins, your relative. Then there's second degree of separation. And now it starts to have like mutual acquaintance and like friends of friends, that kind of thing. And then there's third degree of separation where your mutual friend is mutual friends with that person. And if you look at 6 degrees of separation like this, right? This actually kind of demonstrated in Black Mirror about who you're interconnected to. And they rank people based on they rank people literally their income by grades. Like 4.7 to 5 is very, very high income, very highly social, like high social status. And if you're in a 3, you're kind of in like the lower rungs. And then 4.2 is kind of like you're okay. You're just, kind of there in terms of socioeconomic status. But let's just say that this is this is your first degree of separation. And the median, not just income, okay, the lifestyle, the paradigm, the life decisions they make, where the areas that they purchase, their properties and all that kind of stuff, like combine. So let's just say first degree, like their paradigm, okay. And let's just say their lifestyle, network, and career path is in a box. And that box is limited to an average of 100 grand, which is still good, right? But let's just say like below, even just like, I don't know, 85 to 100 grand. But it's not just the income figure, it's also what kind of job it is, what position, that kind of stuff. And the first degree separation is you're in a box, this limited paradigm already. When you try to make a decision outside of that paradigm, you start to like feel like, oh I'm gonna get ostracized. Like, I'm not gonna belong anymore. So then what makes it even harder is that now there's like, not just first degree, but there's second degree separation, right? And interestingly, it's very likely that if you're an artist, let's just say, the first degree friends that you have is most likely to be an artist, similar profession, similar income. But then your friend's friend is also most likely to be an artist. So second degree is still an artist. So therefore, if your first degree separation, the people around your network is, their way of seeing life is limited. And there's a boxing paradigm. Even if you try to break out of it, you'll still end up going to the second degree where it's still that kind of limited paradigm. So it's still a box. And you'll notice this, because I'm Thai. And I know what Thai Facebook is like, the Thai people's Facebook, and I see mutual friends, and I used to study this literally, who were they friends with, what occupation, what school people go to, what school did they used to go to, and I study wealthy Thai people and okay Thai people, and I study all of this stuff crazily back then to understand but how do you break this so I used to ask myself, how do I break out of this socioeconomic rung and where I am and where am I in this world? And I used to ask myself all these crazy questions. Then I saw that, okay, afterwards you go to third degree. So basically your life is if you operate as the egoic version of you, okay, who you have life accessories that define who you are. So in the book Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, he talks about the fish, where you can literally identify the fish named John. And when you start to assign meaning to John the fish, if John the fish then tragically passes away, you're going to get really, really upset because you gave him a characteristics, a self-concept. But that's a human self-concept of the fish, John, right? But basically the fish is consciousness. And the only way that the fish has a certain character trait is that we give him that character trait. So as your lower self I, you start to define yourself based on your income, your job, your reputation, who your family is and what your position in that family dynamic is, social, economic status kind of thing, and, friend group. So then you also define things about your name and your age and your background and nationality, that kind of stuff. If you're limited to this life accessory, you're going to be limited to this concept where your first degree, your first closest friend, their income potential, their lifestyle, their decision, their career trajectory, if it's limited, you're most likely not going to get out of it. And then when you try to get out of it, it's you go to the second degree. So it's oh, can you introduce me to a friend of your friend? Can you introduce me to your friend? Then you go to second degree of separation, but then this friend is most likely to be friends with that friend who is in the same income potential, it's the same decisions, the same lifestyle, because that's how people become friends, right? It's through a shared aligning values. So then you're well, can you introduce me to your friends of friends of friends of friends and your, my cousin's friends and relatives' friends? But then if you're all in the same rung, you don't get out of that box. What I'm trying to say about this degree, this second, third degree separation idea is that if you ever take action as the lower version of you, who is your human self, which is finite, you're limited, and everything's based on a physical plane, so based on physical action. No matter who you try to become friends with, network with, send your resume out to people to get a certain job, to network with certain hiring managers, to find certain recruiters to help you, everything like that. Because I've done this on LinkedIn. And the same idea on Thai people Facebook and also LinkedIn, which I've went through with LinkedIn and studied this as well on LinkedIn, that if you're operating in a lower rung of the consciousness, where you're operating in pride, in striving, in too much ambition, in too much desire and desperation to succeed, you will always meet people who are vibrationally resonant to who you think you are. Not even who you think you are, who you know yourself to be on a subconscious level. So if you are operating as this version of you, you're going to start taking very logical actions where no matter who you come across in this network of people, in this cluster of people, and you one day hope that one of these people will become a millionaire or a rich person or a millionaire. Because we do this to dream boyfriends and stuff. When people teach their children, make sure you find a well-off husband, a rich husband, but then how do you find him? You're operating in this lower I, and then the cluster of people you meet, no matter what degree of separation, it's like the same potential. So you can't be operating as the version of you who even exists within this space. You have to literally take yourself out of this whole social rung, and you need to, from this version of you who has a fragile mindset and like a very limited self-concept, you have to raise your consciousness. Take the elevator of consciousness up to be the version of you who is in the capital I. The capital I, who is infinite consciousness, infinite intelligence, and you're not stuck in this trap that I used to be trapped in for a while. And I started this and I'm like, it's really hard to get out of unless you are willing to collapse it all together and accept the possibility that you're going to lose a ton of friends and you're going to potentially lose a whole ton of network to be your new self who lives in the exact reality that you want to live in. You have to operate as this version of you who's infinite, who is the source of your reality, who is God of your reality, where her decision, habit, thought, action, focus, belief, emotion, expectation, attention, perception, self-talk is congruent, very congruent to the version of you who gives yourself permission to be someone that you've never been, who lives in the end state, which requires you to be someone that you've never been. Otherwise, like, you would have that life if you were already her. And that someone that you've never been is that you have to collapse this whole thing. This whole network. Meaning you gotta collapse your old self. You gotta like literally collapse your old self. Collapse everything to do with your old self. The ecosystem, the friends, the mutual friends, the acquaintances, everything to do with your old self. So that you show up as the infinite I and you only attract people, opportunities that are in resonance with the version of you who, let's just say you want to be a millionaire, people that can have the resources to give you that kind of pay, people that have the network and the capacity to bring you to that life faster, and not BS people that pretend to be that, but they're not that because you've operated in the lower rungs of your consciousness and you've trapped yourself in this kind of social ecosystem, whatever you call it. Whew, so basically, it's really interesting because we tend to think that if we just work more hours, we will get that lead and the customer acquisition. Until this day, when I receive spam emails from people that want me to pay for their video editing service and that kind of stuff. And it's like, but no, you know what I mean? Because people can feel the desperation that you want them as a client. And if you are so desperate to get a client or you're so desperate to make that money, it means that you don't have. And people are not attracted to people that don't have. People are attracted to people that can elevate their lives because they've elevated their lives. But the thing is, it's not just about what you have materially, but it's about your inner self-concept. Because your inner identification with yourself, the way you see yourself as a capital I, will literally influence your decision, habit, thought, action, focus, belief, emotion, expectation, attention, perception, and self-talk to be congruent to the version of you who will draw in that resource, the people, the career expansion, and the social mobility and all that kind of stuff to stabilize in that world that truly nourishes your life and not drain your life force like it has been for me for so many years. So therefore, the finite version of you will have this ceiling, a baseline. So actually this is her ceiling, and the ceiling is pretty much created through her ego. And let's just say her baseline is literally down here. So no matter the person you've always been, let's just say that your salary has always been 75 grand a year or 80 grand a year or less, or 50 grand a year or 45 grand a year. In my case, it was low, on the lower rung, like less than 60 grand a year. And that was my self-concept, that I just can never make more than this. I just don't understand why, despite the fact that I've tried to upskill myself every year. I try to network with people that have 7-figure businesses and learn from them. I try to seek out mentorship from people who build companies. I tried to everything, and then my income just wouldn't surpass that. And I just didn't understand, like, does it have to do with how capable I am? Is it because I'm just born to be unworthy inherently? Is it because I'm Asian in Australia? Is it because of tall poppy syndrome? Like, that's why I call mental knot. So you don't want to go down that route. But pretty much the version of you is fragile. No matter what you do to send the resume to 100 companies, to try and get onto like hundreds of sales calls, which I've never, but you try to send out 100 outreach. But the thing is, like, people don't give a crap about your outreach if you're not, you know what I mean? Like, the internet teaches you just do a bunch of outreach, but like, there was a time where my video testimonials, like, I got people results and I just kept posting video testimonials, and I was getting more results without no outreach by just posting video testimonials. And if I were to have nothing to offer, even like on LinkedIn, and then I do outreach. So I just don't understand this like mentality where you feel nothing in your cup, you keep chasing and chasing. So no matter what outreach you do, no matter what, Facebook ads you run, no matter what YouTube content you put out, which I've been there, no matter what coffee catch up you have, no matter who you network with, no matter what job interview you go to, no matter how hard you work, 12-hour days or more, no matter how diligent you are, you wake up on time, wake up early, work out, do all these things, it just doesn't go past that ceiling. So you just keep banging your head against the wall, and you take a harsh dip as well. So you just keep oscillating, like never passing this ceiling. So let me ask you, do you think this ceiling is an income ceiling, or is it your worth ceiling? Is it really the world that's like, nah, man, you're just like, you're never destined to make $1 million because you're Asian, which is what I used to tell myself, like, you're Asian in Australia. And it's so hard to get past tall poppy syndrome and to get yeses. That's what my egoic self used to say. I don't think it's hard if it's, if you're connected to your highest I. But the excuse that I gave myself for so many years is that because I'm Asian, and people don't let Asian women in certain rooms in Australia, kind of thing. There's a bamboo ceiling, and like, because I look this way, I just literally don't have the privilege like somebody who's a local. But that's an excuse. That's not the truth. And it only becomes a truth in your world when you make the law of the universe and decide that that kind of limitation is true for you. So therefore, you cannot do anything in this reality. You cannot operate as this version of you who's you've been her for like decades. Me, you've been her for such a long time. So you have to give yourself permission to be this version of you that you've never been. So you can finally get the results that you've never manifested on the physical plane before. So let's just say this result that you want, this end state, is $1 million. Naturally, your baseline is going to be so much more higher. And now, the distance between you and where you want to be, literally, maybe only be like 100 more steps. So from here to get to here is only like, 50 to 100 steps, or even much shorter. It depends. When I'm saying 50 to 100 steps, I don't mean that it's a lot of steps. It can be 5 to 10 steps. But what I'm saying is that it's compared to here, you might take like 10,000 more steps or more, plus more, and scattered steps, scattered focus, scattered steps, and wrong steps for you to be from here to here. Whereas for you to be from here to here, it only takes you like aligned steps. And it's really, really easy to shorten the distance. So therefore, this version of you, right? This version of you could literally still do YouTube content if you're a business person that wants to make, money with like content and, coaching, that kind of stuff. So entrepreneurship. You can still be running Facebook ads if you want. You could still network. You could still, publish books and, have website and books and stuff like that. You could go onto other people's podcasts if you want. And let's just go into like other realms of money making with entrepreneur. You can do e-commerce. You can do drop shipping. You can be a fashion designer, a fashion brand. You can be a small to medium business owner, like, those shops that sells like merchandises and cute stickers, like small to medium merchandise online business. You can have an Etsy shop, selling like bracelets and cute stuff. And because I had the idea, like I went to Thailand to do these like beads and they're really cute. I thought about making a business out of it. You can do investing and you can do, what do you call those things, like Forex trading, whatever, which is quite dangerous, but some people get it right. Or you can trade options and you can make a course out of it. You can get into real estate and you can be once you get into real estate and Airbnb business and stuff like that, once you succeed at that, then you can like literally have an online course teaching other people how to open a real estate Airbnb business kind of thing. You can, going back now to 9 to 5, you can go and get a job, like at a bank as well, or like a tech company, which you really, really like. So for you, like you prefer to be an entrepreneur. So I believe entrepreneur is somebody who's still innovative, but they work inside the company. I think it's called entrepreneur. So what I'm trying to tell you is that it's not about this vehicle that brings you wealth. It's not about the vehicle. You know what? I'm going to add this as well. You can be a spiritual teacher. You can be a meditation teacher. You can run retreats. You can be energy healer, read tarot cards. You can be a PT or fitness coach, whatever it is. Because it's like, it's not about the vehicle. Because people are like, yeah, but as a PT, it's hard to earn more. When I make YouTube, as a YouTuber, it's hard to earn on Google Ads. When I network with people in Sydney, back in the day when I was networking as this version of me, all I've ever met was, low-key scams, like kind of like people pretending to be, they puff themselves up to be bigger than they actually are. When I do podcasts, it gets no view kind of thing, or like when I do e-commerce, there's all these problems, drop shipping, all these problems. And basically, we put too much emphasis on the vehicle. So when you ask yourself, how do I be a millionaire or how do I make a lot of money? Okay, obviously you can't really be a millionaire if you box yourself in a certain 9 to 5 role where like the salary is capped because other people make the decision of your salary. But let's just say that the vehicle, every vehicle can get you to there. Because in the book, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, he stated that getting, smart people can get rich, dumb people get rich. Fit people get rich, unfit people get rich. Anybody can get rich. And it's not about, it's not about the vehicle that you choose as much as how you do things in a certain way. It's not about you investing or getting a job at bank, tech, and company. Because you know what Asian parents tell their kids? Oh, you've got to be a doctor. Surgeon, yeah. You got to be a lawyer to be rich. Yeah, sure. They say that certain occupations bring you to wealth. And I completely agree, especially with YouTube. If you make content on finance, your Google ads will pay more than if you made content on art. But every single occupation, ethical occupation, if you know how to package your offer properly and you get your mental atmosphere correct, there are ways to make things work in your favor. Some vehicle may be a bit harder than the other, or it may have more processes than the other, but ultimately, any vehicle that you choose, as long as you're in the right mental state, mental atmosphere, where in the book, I believe, Awaken Imagination by Neville Goddard, and he was talking about this phrase I keep remembering. I love it because he says success is the byproduct of cultivating the right inner action and not imitating the outer actions of the successful. So it's a byproduct of you having the right inner conversations and taking the right inner actions mentally before it happens. So therefore, no matter what occupation you choose, especially when parents tell you, you got to do this to make money, be a UX designer, go to a reputable university. Yeah, let's add UX design to this as well. UX designer, whatever, it's your mental attitude, your self-concept, and your ability to connect with your infinite consciousness that will get you to the riches. No matter what you choose to do, you want to choose these that matches your joy towards it. So you've got to get good at it, but you've also got to enjoy it to a level, because when you combine love and you also combine expertise that you're damn good at it, then you can do this for a long time in a way where it's enthusiastic and it's interesting and people don't get bored of it because you don't get bored of doing it. And so you sustain your riches because you put love into it. But what I'm trying to say is that a person that's operating in this lower realm, they're going to frantically hop from one thing to the other. No, YouTube doesn't work. Okay, let me try run Facebook ad. No, it doesn't work as well. You know what? I think I have a passion for fashion. So I'm just going to go with the fashion brand. But no, there was so much problem with my business partner. So I'm going to change my mind, do drop shipping. Oh, but then there's so much problem with you being the middleman, and my supply has problem with me. So I'm going to get into investing now. Oh, but no, the market is too volatile. If I put money in this, I'm going to lose money. So then I'm going to go and become, I'm going to go and study real estate and see how it looks, because apparently real estate is trending right now. Oh, but then I don't actually have enough to even start with real estate. So I'm going to go into, let's go back to forex trading, see what it's about. Okay, none of this actually works. So let me just pivot and become a spiritual teacher instead to give you insights about all these things. Oh, but then in the spiritual community, it seems like people are mostly broke. I'm just exaggerating this, it's not the truth. But basically in spiritual community, it's too hard to make money, and it's not like being, and in a stockbroker, because money doesn't come easily in the spiritual community. Most people are just all about selflessness and sacrifice. So that didn't make me a lot of money. So I'm okay, I'll try and run retreats actually. And no, actually I'm gonna be a PT now. And you keep hopping from one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, as a shiny object syndrome. Because why? Because you've never changed who you are. So instead of us focusing on which vehicle to choose, we have to choose who we're going to be. Who are you going to be in the process? Who do you choose to be? Which leads me now to the next point. Are you ready? So the next question that I have for you is, where are you investing? I'm not asking you where are you investing in your portfolio. I'm not talking about diversifying your stocks or whatever. I'm asking you, where are you investing your resource? Where that's money. But it's also, where are you investing your energy? Because this is now going into your spirituality. Where are you investing your time? Where are you investing your skill sets? which is again a resource. Are you investing in yourself, or are you investing in others to like you? This is so important because a lot of times we tell ourselves that once I make $1 million, life is going to be good. And as you can see today, we have a lot of inflation and weird stuff going on with the world. And the countries are fighting that kind of stuff. So $1 million, at least in Sydney, is nothing compared. Like when you buy a home, you don't really get anything much out of $1 million home in Sydney anymore. So basically, I'm asking you, do you tell yourself, when I achieve X, then I'll do this? When I make $1 million, I'll start looking into investments. Then I'll take care of myself. Then I will, do things like invest in myself. Because I've had people in the past that were like, yeah, but Patty, with what money? And I understand everyone's in different life situations, but how is the life that you want going to land your physical reality if you don't practice embodying that life every single day as a normal habit? It's like saying, after I get a bikini bod, then I will work out. When I used to swim, it's like once I can swim 1,000 meters sustained on 4 a.m. wake up like I used to, then I'll start waking up at 4 a.m. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so once I make $1 million, then I'll start investing in myself. Like not just investing in like the business, I mean taking care of yourself. What do I mean by that? The thing is, when you invest in getting people to like you, this is what you do. You prioritize others before you. You shut people meals way more than you should. Like in certain cultures, it's like obligation that once you have money, you got to shut your friends a meal and come invite your friend and invite your friend and friend because it's abundance. So I'll just shout your friends and your friends and your friends, and then you spend like $3,000 a night or much more at clubbing or somewhere to a bunch of strangers, and your money goes down the drain because you're chasing a dopamine spike. How many times have you seen people like catapult their success, but then like after they catapult their success, it's like, what do I do with all this money? So then they start throwing parties and, shouting people meals because they can afford to. So I've seen a book actually written by this billionaire, Andrew Wilkinson. Yeah, I really like his book, Never Enough. And he was talking about how he threw a penthouse party, and altogether it was like $20,000 for a bunch of strangers that he's just met. Not exactly strangers, but people that he's not even close to. Some guy who works at Facebook or something was lying down on the couch and like the next morning, and he's like, what the hell am I doing? 20 grand like thrown to a party and hung over the next day. And then how do you feel after that? You feel a sense of like embarrassment towards yourself. When it comes to even things like, what's so weird about like females is that, so I don't want to go like be disrespectful about the OnlyFans space or anything. Like, everyone has different values and decisions and life choices, but it's like, there was a time I was looking on internet obsessively about, the red pill men and that kind of movement and what's going viral in that movement. And it's like, people try so hard to be accepted by doing weird things that lower their dignity. They lower their dignity. They say stupid things. They do stupid challenges that just absolutely diminish themselves. And what else do you do when you try to make other people like you? You don't put yourself first. It's like that client comes first. That opportunity comes first. So you can't afford to rest. So all these things, right? You're telling yourself basically that once you have $1 million, both of you have $1 million. Just think about where this money is going. Is this money like, this is the trajectory, right? Do you think that you start off here, the million is here? Do you really think that your trajectory looks stable, or does it look something like this over time? So when you see people going broke, because I've kind of like, I've kind of experienced this myself when I started earning some money, and I started to make really poor decisions with myself, like splurging, spending instead of investing. But not just spend, I was burning money based on my trauma. And I had people warn me like, Patty, you're burning your money, but I couldn't. I mean, like if I could turn time back, I wouldn't make a much drastic decision, because I saw that burning money as an investment in my own growth anyway, which was like, renting out the apartments, Airbnb, to live a way different lifestyle and improve my swim. So it wasn't really burning money for me. But I did go through a phase where I couldn't control myself. Like if I see a perfume I wanted, I would just go for it, because I felt so emotionally deprived for a long time. Because every single time you take an action that diminishes your self-worth, you prioritize others, your self-esteem down the drain. You keep getting dopamine spikes, and you keep shouting people food and getting hungover and throwing random parties, spending 20 grand, throwing random parties in your apartment to a bunch of people that will not be in your life in the next 5 years. Your self-esteem goes down the drain. You lower your dignity and do stupid things to get clout, to have your socials grow, and people talk about you in the most demeaning ways, like, oh my God, this, the kind of thing. So you do it temporarily for like fame and a lot of money in a certain period of time, but then for your whole life, your reputation is like screwed. So you do things that will have an increase, like catapulting your income potential, like maybe in 2026 and 2027, but then for the remainder of your life, like your reputation is down the drain. And so you do things like your client comes first. You always prioritize work first before the people that you love and your family, because it's so important that you've got to hustle 24/7 and you never give yourself a break. And opportunities always come first, because no, I can't afford to let that deal go, man. I can't. So that enough times your inner worth depletes hardcore. Right? If your inner world depletes, what do you think your outer reality would look like? Because this is your 3D now. If internally, as within, so without, internally you're depleted within, and your sense of self-love goes down the drain, and this addiction, and you start turning to substance to numb yourself, and you go into alcohol and stuff like that, which is, like, I'm very fortunate to have never gone down that path, but I understand like the emotional spiral of depending on these things. But what happens when that enough time that your self-esteem keeps going down the drain? Material wealth, not just the bank account, but even the lifestyle, the turbulence around it, it goes down the drain with you. So that's why we want to focus on being her or him. You want to make sure that you do things where your self-esteem skyrockets and stabilizes there. So basically, this version of you already has $1 million too. You've earned it. And ideally, your journey wants to look something like this. Or you can like keep shooting to 10 or whatever. But let's just say that, like, for this case, we're just going to stick to like, I'm enough, I'm good, I don't need to be like multi-millionaire, I'm just good. Okay, so it's still good. But some people prefer like, oh yeah, I'm already doing 100K months, but now I'm not good with that. I want to hit 1 mil a month. Then after that, I want to hit 5 mil a month. And after that, I want to hit 10 mil a month kind of thing. So that depends. But in this case, I'm saying I have enough, I'm good. I'm not willing to go above and beyond for money anymore, because I prefer balance in life. And if 1 million is enough, of course it's more than enough to give me a deeply satiating life in any countries, exchange rates and that kind of stuff. And it's good. I'm good with it. So what activities would you do, or what self-loving actions will you do to nourish yourself, to always maintain this baseline? You'd prioritize yourself, right? So what would you prioritize? Your sleep, your eating, of course. What about your relationships? But not just to other people, but your relationship to yourself. See, when you look at influencers that rose so high, they're gonna be like, there's no pain, no gain, no sleep. You're gonna work super hard, and success is really it's really hardcore and boring because it requires a bunch of Zoom calls to get to 100 mil a year and that kind of stuff. And it's to a certain degree, you gotta ask yourself, what kind of life do you like to live? Do you want to live a life where instead of you being at the beach, you have to be on constant Zoom calls in the cubicle or your own cubicle? So you've got to also dictate, once you get to that point, what's enough for you? What's enough? Where's that sweet point where your life feels so enriching with less? The bank account is not 100 million, but with less, it's a good balance for where I am today. And if I want to skyrocket, then I'll do it in a way where it doesn't require immense self-sacrifice, that I don't get to live my life kind of thing. So it's interesting what most people value. But let's just say that you value living an enriching, nourishing life where you work, but you're also allowed to go to the beach and just be with yourself and just rejuvenate in solitude. And you don't have to be a puppet in your own machine. Solitude. And be comfortable in your own solitude. Because I believe I haven't read too much into solitude, but I saw this book on the advantage of being comfortable in your own solitude and why it's important for us. Because at the end of the day, we're falling asleep with ourselves. We are waking up with ourselves. We're brushing our teeth with ourselves. And if we learn how to be so content and satisfied in our own companionship, then it actually doesn't make us more lonelier. It doesn't make us more ostracized. You know what it does? When you are okay in your own solitude and you love yourself, you love being with yourself, and you're just so okay going to that beach walk by yourself and taking yourself on solo dates, then people are magnetized to want to be a part of your world because you have an abundance of love to share. And I know it sounds really cheesy, but when you're okay being with yourself, no matter what people do on the outer world, it's you're good with them, laughing with you, but you're also okay just laughing alone. Honestly, it's true power. I've laughed alone a few times. It's the best feeling ever. You would also ask yourself, who do you love? Who do you love in your life? The small group of people that you love. And you're gonna ask yourself, what do they deserve to receive from me? I think I read a book by Ray Dalio many years ago. Don't remember the title, but it was such a good book. I think it will come to me later, Ray Dalio. And basically, the book was called Principles. And he was talking about how building wealth is all about cultivating relationships. And it was so interesting because I thought Ray Dalio was talking about investment strategies and that kind of stuff, very analytical thing. But he was talking a lot about the principles of managing your relationships properly. And when you build an organization, you pretty much build a bunch of leaders that would then build a bunch of leaders and leaders and leaders, so that you can then take time out to do other things with your life while you have your leaders running that corporation for you. So that was really interesting. But it all starts from building the right relationship with each leaders and building them the right way, so that once you train the first leader properly, then they will train the second tier of leaders properly, and the second tier of leader will train the third tier of leaders properly. So then therefore you have this beautiful corporation where, people have good relationships, but in real life, a lot of time there's a lot of politics and that kind of stuff. But Anyway, it's about relationship building. Like life is about relationship. So people have told me that it's unhealthy to like be in solitude. So I'm not talking about the kind of solitude where you take yourself out from the entire world. I'm talking about the kind of solitude where you rejuvenate yourself and you prioritize your internal world over anything else. Because like Neville Goddard says, like life, like a man's internal world, like a man's consciousness is pretty much life objectified. Wait, life is a man's internal consciousness objectified. And since the universe is mental, the more you nourish your inner world, you're basically saying that you're 10xing yourself in a way. Because you know how other people, they desperately want to 10x everything. Like they want to 10x their Facebook ads, they want to 10x their views, they want to 10x their leads, they want to 10x their customer acquisition, they want to 10x their customer retention, they want to 10x everything. But then how do you expect everything to 10x if you don't come and prioritize your internal world and literally 10x yourself from it? And by prioritizing your inner world, it may mean that you sometimes work less. So you use that gap to rejuvenate yourself, pour some love into yourself, get some sufficient sleep, get some beautiful showers, and make sure you feel relaxed in the alpha or theta brainwave state, and just be in your world where it feels harmonious and ideal to you so that your outer world can reflect that. When $1 million gets allocated to this person, where do you think the million will go? Do you think it will continue to bloom in a beautiful like investment and compound over time? Or will it go down the drain into this kind of corrosive, like turbulent life? That's why I'm saying like it's interesting because money doesn't, a lot of people say money increases life quality. Yes, it does. But to a certain degree, the person who increases your life quality is you, not the money itself. Because money can absolutely destroy your life quality too if you use it the wrong way. So getting $1 million doesn't guarantee an increased life quality unless you guarantee it for yourself, is what I'm trying to say. And I wish that this was taught more to us before we put money on such a high pedestal. Which leads us to the final point. All right, but this is going to be a short final point because we're almost an hour, I believe. So one more. The last thing that I want to end this video with, it's going to be an hour video, so it's going to be long, but I really want you to be patient with yourself in the process of shattering your inner world ceiling, because what really happens is that along the trajectory of you leveling up, the 3D reality will throw you so much tests and obstacles and wonkiness because you've been a part of the destructive pendulum for a while. If you are, always in like lack and there's like scarcity and stuff like that, and you breaking out of this, it requires you to practice the art of self-forgiveness when you're not as perfect as you want yourself to be and you can't meet your own standards. This version of you requires a consistent self-praise. The most tiniest things like, good job, pat on the back. This video was good, like good job, you did 1 hour again. And your hair looks nice too, so good on you. This version of you requires self-empowerment. So the thing is, a lot of when we try to like break out of our default ecosystem and the income ceiling, a lot of people will throw a skepticism and like, are you sure? That's a scam. But are you a scam? And you've got to empower yourself that every decision that you make that may give you $0 in return, literally for like a year or two, it can be that. Along every step of the way, you want to empower yourself that the actions you took, that the seed didn't become the flower, it didn't become this rose by the time that you expected to. That the actions you took was the win itself. Which means that you have to really accept yourself. Because when there's no self-acceptance, you start to really measure how successful you are based on outer metrics, such as, has my business made money? Have I sold my offer yet to a client? And I understand that in the real world, success is determined when, after you make the offer or the coaching offer. Success is made in a restaurant after you sell the food. Success is made, in e-commerce after the product is sold. And success is determined by things like, your sales numbers and the targets and how much money you make in a year. That is determining the metrics, the key metrics of human success. But as the version of you who is operating in the capital I, you're not going to play by the rules of humans. You're going to become infinite consciousness. So therefore, I want you to forgive yourself when sometimes you screw up and you make the wrong decisions. I want you to praise yourself every day for at least attempting to show up and try again after you've screwed up. I want you to empower yourself, and nobody is there to empower your ideas and tell you that, good job, Patty, keep going. And they say things like, but it's dangerous, just don't do that. I want you to empower yourself and there's no results to show for. And I want you to accept yourself when sometimes you just can't go faster than you wish that you could. Because ultimately, this will then compound your confidence over time. And once your confidence gets compounded, it turns into a very strong sense of conviction. And once your conviction level is very, very, very high, nothing in this world, none of this criticism, this color, you can't see it, none of the blame, skepticism, no movement, which you will experience eventually, opposite circumstances, third parties. In manifestation world, third parties are like your obstacles. None of these things that will test your patience, it will literally test your patience to the limits, can deplete you anymore. Because your self-love tank is so high. So therefore, please love yourself in the process as much as you can. Because you're always going to be the one that only has your own back. You're always going to be the one that's going to wake up with you every day and fall asleep with you every night. So please, at the fundamental of this, no matter if the $1 million or even less than that, no matter if any money lands, you're going to be the version of you who absolutely loves yourself like you would love your own kid, your daughter or your son. But that's the inner child within you that you're going to love every single day. So that's it. And again, I'll be opening up coaching spots. So if you are interested, there's a waitlist down below or a link down below to that. And my purpose is to empower high-achieving women to reach their tipping points in 8 to 12 weeks by shattering their inner world ceiling. Just like this. So if that sounds like you, get in touch and see you soon.